All right, everybody, welcome to a extremely special edition of Game Over. We have the cross-country crossover between Vancouver Canucks and Toronto Maple Leafs, the crossover you've all been waiting for, because it's a very special edition. We have former Vancouver Canucks goaltender Eddie Lack joining us here to talk about the game. Eddie, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Fouad, this is amazing. Eddie played in my city. I'm from Vancouver, obviously, a longtime vlogger and fan there. But it took a Game Over Toronto show for me to actually meet Eddie in person. So, Fouad, thanks for making it happen, brother.
Sometimes you just got it's always the weird things. It's always the things you don't expect that happen. Yeah. But yeah, thank you for so much for coming on. We're going to have a bit of a different structure. Like normally we talk about the game. We want to talk to Ed. We got Eddie here. So we're going to talk about the game with you. So like Vancouver, the team, like you still follow the team, right? Like you're still kind of a fan. Like you don't really lose that fandom after you play for them, do you?
No, I mean, it was a favorite team that I played for too. So definitely has a special place in my heart. And yeah, I don't follow as much now because I got 2 kids and a normal job and everything, right? So, but as much as I can, and like these early games and stuff are like a little easier as well, right?
For sure. And I think, Fouad, one thing we talked about is instead of usually on a Game Over show, especially a head-to-head show, we will talk about the game, break it down from both of our perspectives, and then we will get into something deeper. But we're going to reverse it because Eddie's got about half an hour with us, and we are so grateful for that. We are going to pepper Eddie with questions first, and then Fouad and I will break down the game. So we're going to slightly reverse the order, and then, of course, end off with our Q&A. And Eddie, I'm not going to nerd you out. You know that I'm a big fan of the team here in Vancouver, a big fan of you. But I did look up that in that 2014-15 season, you relieved Ryan Miller in one game, only let in 1 goal and a loss, and then you proceeded to beat Toronto later that season. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think the game you're talking about was when Millsy got hurt, and then I played, I think, like 26 straight games in a row or something like that. Yeah. The year we made the playoffs. So, yeah, I don't really remember the game against Toronto. Yeah,
I just
was it home or away?
The one that you won was actually, I have it right here. It was a home game, 4-1 victory. Yes.
Yes.
I was going to say, that. I don't, yeah. I was going to say, I don't even remember, but you beating the Leafs, that sounds about right. I don't know. I follow the Leafs. That sounds about right.
Although it didn't happen tonight. Eddie, leave it to Fouad and I to break down the game. But in general, I know this Game Over Toronto, but let's do a quick your reflection on what you've seen from the Canucks so far, just so Vancouver Canucks fans can hear that. And then we'll get into some specific questions that we wanted to ask you while we had you on. So what do you thought about the great start that the Canucks have been on so far?
No, I mean, it's obviously fun. It's obviously something that we've been waiting a long time for, right, to be good again. So no, it's very encouraging. I don't want to get too high and too happy yet, but we've seen a lot of improvement. We've seen a lot of encouraging signs from this team, and they are definitely a better, more well-built team than they've been in years, right? So fun to see. It's like fun for like the goalies to finally get some help back there too. So I think like the way that they're playing now really fits the style of the goalies and everything too as well. So that can really showcase their skill and everything as well, right?
Yeah, great answer. Go ahead, Fouad.
Yeah, I was gonna say for sure. Like, yeah. So to go with the game here, but with the like, I remember I was talking. So you saw the first couple of goals because of the instigator penalties the Leafs took. Now I gotta ask, in relation to someone who's played on a team, how much does a fight or like a guy like taking an instigator actually like really rally the boys? Because I actually think it made a difference. Like a lot of fans are like, wow, they let in 2 goals, but I think it did change the energy. Like, what do you think about that? Like, have you seen that a lot in your experience as a player?
Yeah, like there's always a time and a place for it, I guess. But a lot of times when it's something like that and you want to rally the boys and everything, like it's usually that talk on the bench, like, oh, don't worry, we're gonna kill this one for you, you know. So it's one of the things that's like fun in team sport, and that energy that kind of builds throughout the game, right? And yeah, I mean, I don't know if it changed that much because you let in 2 goals, right? But still, it brought some aggressiveness and stuff like the game that I thought I missed in the beginning. So yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like leave it to, everyone says be tough. As soon as they're tough, they get 2 penalties that let in 2 goals, and I'm like, the life of a Leafs fan, like life of the Leafs, isn't it? But
and the one game that Ryan Reeves is out, right, Fouad?
This team is, yeah, it's hard to explain this team. It's a hard job for me.
Eddie, speaking of that aggressiveness, did you ever get in a goalie fight in the NHL?
No, but I challenged Jonathan Quick one game in LA.
I didn't know this.
So we were in like a playoff battle with LA. I mean, there was like 1 point in between us, I think. We were like 7th and 8th in the conference, right? So and we played a noon game down there, and this was when Milsey was hurt as well. So like it was me, and then we called up Markstrom. But like, I don't know if you guys remember, because Markstrom has like had such a great career now and everything, but in the beginning he was struggling a lot at the NHL level, right? And we called him up, and I played like 26 straight games, and I think that this was like game 15 or like whatever, and Jonathan Quick kind of grabbed on to Henrik Sedin, I think, and we were up 1-0 in the second period, and everyone kind of stood up, and I was like, wow, I've never been in a goalie fight, but this seems to be like a good time to do it. I mean, we were kind of pounding our captain and everything. I just wanted to kind of show that I wanted a piece of him, right? So I skated up to like the red line, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and I look over at our bench quick, and like they're all just like standing there like, get back. Like, because Markey played like 1 game then, and I think he got pulled, and everyone was like, I mean, like it was a really important game for us, right? So the ref came and kind of brought me back to my net and everything, which was kind of good, I think, because I'm a lot nicer guy than Jonathan Quick, and I think that like he like has this switch that I don't have, that like he like probably would have beat me pretty bad, I think. Yeah.
You know, Eddie, it's so funny. I pulled this up. So this is a March 21st, 2015 game. You're right. 4 p.m. early start in LA. You guys are tied 1-1, and I see the penalty summary. Jonathan Quick and Henrik Sedin roughing with 5 minutes left in the second period.
Yeah.
guess what happened? Do you remember what happened in that game?
Yeah, we won 2-1.
It was actually 4-1. These guys scored 3 goals in the third period. So
it must have been like 2 in an open net or something, no?
Yes, 2 empty netters. Very good.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Man, you can remember a game from 8 years ago. That's pretty impressive.
Well, there's like some special games that you remember, right? Yeah. I don't remember everyone, but I remember the like really good games and the really bad games, but I don't remember anything in the middle. So
I was gonna say, like, that's a photographic memory right there. That's like I don't know if you know in the NBA, but LeBron James has that. He's like, yeah, there's the game in 2014 in April that I threw a pass.
Yeah.
That's like, then I'm like, I don't know how you remember that. I don't remember like this morning, but I gotta ask a question, like goalie specific, because this always fascinates me about goaltending, because it's not like any other sport where, like, for example, let's take like Ilya Samsonov, a guy that he was like drafted pretty high for a goaltender, and then he was non-tendered by Washington, and then last season he played like really, really well. Like that was his net stole it from Matt Murray. And then this season starts off like really, really struggling, loses the net to Joseph Woll. What is it specifically about goaltending where it's such a high variance? Like you even saw it with Sergei Bobrovsky in the playoffs. Like he was, functionally everyone's like, is he like half retired? And then he goes ahead and obviously plays the Leafs and turns into like Dominic Hasek mixed with Martin Brodeur, right? So like, where does that variance come from?
I don't know. It like depends of the situation, I think. Like I'm gonna be honest, I like never thought that Samsonov was that good of a goalie. And like
shots fired.
I always thought that Woll was gonna take the net sooner or later this year. Like I thought if he started in last year's playoffs, like you guys probably win a few rounds, I think. That's just my opinion, but yeah, like in that specific instance, I just think that Woll is a better goalie, and like in a long season like this, it's gonna show eventually. Then like from goalies, it's so different when you go from team to team as well, right? I mean, like when I went from Vancouver, I mean, I was seeing like 30, 32, 33 shots a night, but like I maybe had like 7, 8, 9 grade A scoring chances. So like I looked a lot better in Vancouver than if you compare it to how I looked in Carolina. I had like 23 shots a night and it was like 15 grade A's, right? So it depends a lot on like how the team plays, and like obviously the Leafs are not really playing away now where like
your
goalie is gonna look the best at every night, right? But yeah, I mean, like if you compare the way that the Leafs play to like a Vegas where like some nights you can play in Vegas and you don't have your A game, but you still have like a 1 or 2 goal games, right? But if you have that in Toronto, it's like 5 or 6,
I always say that, like I've always said that, like playing as goalie in Toronto like ages you 5 years every year. It's almost like
it's like dog years, basically.
Yeah, basically, it's a goalie. Like I feel bad for any goalie. Like you see it with like Jack Campbell. Like obviously, like it looks like it took a toll on him. Like playing in Toronto now, he's really been struggling in Edmonton. So like it's a tough place to be a goaltender. That's for sure.
Yeah, it is. I mean, like what's the best goalie that you guys had in the last 15 years? I mean, Reimer.
Yes, yeah. I mean, Frederick Anderson, depending on the game. Yeah, like it was
Freddie too. Yes, but yeah. I mean, it's funny to see those guys too when they go to other teams and everything. I mean, obviously Freddie has had some health issues and everything. Right. But like especially like the first year that he left, he like really showed like what a good goalie he is, that like he maybe not showed every night in Toronto, but that's kind of like the difference. It's like so hard to play for some of these offensive teams too. And like I can guarantee you that the guys in the room with the Leafs rather win a game 6-5 than 1-0.
Yeah. I mean, totally. I mean, that's kind of the bread and butter of the guys. Like, especially like a guy like William Nylander, like, scoring those goals, it kind of gets goes up. Like every dollar counts, right? Yes. In the contract year.
Great point. Eddie, I would love to just pick your brain a little bit. I think the viewers would really love to hear about the mental side of goaltending. All you guys are great athletes, and even the guys that struggle, they're still really, really good athletes. Yeah. But the mental side is so big. And I remember you had 2 seasons here with the Canucks, and you were a fan favorite. Everyone loved you. And the first year was the weird one where Roberto was still here, and then he gets traded halfway through at the end of the season. And then the second year is, you're right, you come in and you play basically the whole second half of the year for Ryan Miller. And then it's 2 years of Carolina, and you said the numbers went down a little bit. Having said all that, did you ever change your your approach, your mentality when you basically suddenly became the starter fighting with Roberto for minutes or starts, and then you became the bona fide starter after Miller went down? Did you change anything about the way you approach, or is it just business as usual? You're just simply playing more. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I mean, the two situations kind of differentiates himself a little bit. Like the first year, I was just happy to be there and like learning and playing with Bobby and everything, and like everything was so like new, right? And like I didn't really have that high of expectations on myself. It was just like, I mean, I'm here to like have fun. I'm like finally living my dream, right? And then everything kind of changed when Bobby got traded, and like I was the guy, right? And it was like it kind of became a little bit more serious overnight for me, I guess. And like that was something that I felt that I struggled with the first year, because like it was so many games in like such a short period of time, and like with all the pressure and all the travel and everything around it, like I think that first year it was a great learning experience from me to kind of like see how to like act and recover as a pro and everything, because like it takes a lot on you, right? And then the second year was kind of different because we signed Milsey in the off season, and like I kind of tasted it the year before, so I wanted more of it, right? And then to not play that much in the beginning of the season and everything, I mean, like that was really tough on me. I felt like it, because like I felt that I was a better goalie, and I felt that the experiences that I went through the year before, I learned a lot. So I just wanted to like show everyone that I was better prepared this year. And then Milsey went down when we had 25 games left or something, and like I finally got that chance again, and I got to show that like I was better prepared than the year before, and just not so focused on like the outside noise and everything, just kind of more like my mental focus switched to like more focus on like what I can control, and like the guys in the room, you know.
Fouad, are you okay if I ask one more question about Vancouver real quick, and then we can?
Oh God, of course.
So Eddie, 9 years ago, back when Twitter was a little safer and social media was starting to, you very quickly became a fan favorite here in Vancouver, whether it's your interactions with Wyatt or just the media in general. Was that hard for you to do? Did you see kind of a little niche that you could provide, or were you simply Eddie just being yourself, and if fans loved you, so be it kind of thing? Like it was, I wouldn't say it was intentional or strategic unless it was, but it was wonderful. It was almost like generic, and it was organic. It was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a people pleaser too, right? And like I remember when I first started Twitter in like the minors and stuff, and like I didn't really understand it, because I had all these people that was tweeting me, and like I was like, okay, well, like I have to answer them all, because like I like can't leave them hanging, you know, and like they're writing specifically to me, so like I have to answer, right? And then people kind of like get to know who I am, I think, and then it kind of just like grew from like there, and when I got called up and everything, I mean it was just about having fun and like being myself, and I think that Bobby helped a lot with that too, because he like had his Strombone account and everything, and like we were just going back and forth, you know, and yeah, like I just love interacting with the fans and everything, and like I always remember like this, like the Sedins, they always told me to, because like some days you're like tired, and like there's always a lot of fans that want to get your autographs after the game and everything. And like they always reminded me like one day no one is gonna want your autograph. So like just like stop and sign for everyone now, right? Because this is what you're supposed to be doing, right? So I took that to heart, and I just tried to like be myself, you know.
Awesome. Well, the Canucks fan space is much better for it and for you. So thank you, Eddie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and a question I had from that, and you kind of like brought me into the question I was actually going to ask, is like, as somebody who played in like completely different markets, right? Like you started in I mean, any Canadian market, especially like, I mean, Toronto and Vancouver are the two biggest ones. Are I guess Montreal, but big Canadian markets. Like you go from a pressure cooker to like where everybody's watching you, like everybody knows who you are, and then going to a place like you said, Carolina, where it's there is a passionate group of fans. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's not the number one thing on the local news. Usually, it's like like how is that contrast? Like how was that much of a difference from going from Vancouver to like an American market?
It was different. I mean, and I always say that like I played for the Hurricanes like 3-4 years too soon, because like when I left, like they became really good, and they had like the storm surge and like I mean everything, right? And I was like I was there a little bit too soon, and like I was there when you see all their stud D's that they have now, and like Slavin and Pesci and everyone. Like I was there when that was their first year in the league, right? So like I always knew that they were going to be really good. I just hoped that I was going to be there for it, right? But no, it was different. I mean, even with like how the teams treat their players and everything. I mean, like Vancouver and like in Canada in general, I mean, like they have everything served on a platter for you. Like you don't have to think about anything. And then like the US, I think it's like growing to get there more and more, but they're not really there yet, I don't think, right? So yeah, just it was fun playing in Canada, more pressure in Canada, but I like that pressure as well, and I kind of missed it when I played in the States. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, and that's an interesting thing to where it's like, yeah, like some guys like they kind of shy away from it. We hear a lot of stories about guys that put their no trade lists with Canada, but I guess in a sense you're saying, well, you're kind of missing out on having all of those perks, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah. And it's just shocking to me with like all the money that the Canadian team spend on performance and everything around. Like it's super surprising that it's been so long since the Canadian team have won the cup, right? But yeah, soon.
Awesome. Yes. No. Hopefully. So there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of people.
Who do we think is gonna win the cup first, the Canucks or the Leafs?
Oh, I mean, you're asking somebody who's been like a damaged Leafs fan. I mean, one of the teams made it to the finals when there were color TVs. I mean, so I it's hard for me to go and say the Leafs, but I guess I got to say the Leafs because the people in the chat, they'll come after me if I don't. So
that's fair. And Eddie, my answer, because I can't wait to write a song about it, of course. So that's
yeah.
my answer. Eddie, a quick question.
Twice.
Yes, I know. A couple people in the chat were wondering, we often hear goalies are a different breed, whether it's superstition or routine or tradition. Did you have any funny, like little things that you would do game day, pregame, whatever, that you would say, okay, maybe this leads credence to the fact that goalies are indeed a different breed?
I think that I was pretty normal for a goalie, and like my teammates are probably laughing now and like, oh my God, you're so weird. But like, yeah, I didn't have that many things. I mean, my stuff was more just preparation and rituals, right? But like not that much superstition with anything. It was more just like eating the same thing and stuff because like I felt good eating that, right? Pre-game naps at the same time. I mean, just like the boring stuff. I like wish I had something fun to say.
Yeah, no. I remember was it like Patrick Waugh who said he talked to the posts.
Yeah.
Was be good to me. That's an interesting one. Yeah, you kind of like would be. That would be one that I think Clay was like the fans were looking for. But
well, someone did mention. I'm sure you can still hear us, Eddie. Someone mentioned the victory dance that you did after you.
Oh yeah,
that was good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how that started. God, I'm old now. Yeah, like I don't even know how that started. I just think it started in Sweden or something, and I was just really happy about a win, and I did it, and then it kind of just like grew, and like then it turned into the lack dance, I think, in Winnipeg when I played for like the Moose. So yeah.
The lack dance. Very good. Very good. Fouad, we got about 5 more minutes with Eddie. I think I got one more question. Do you have one as well?
I do actually. Yeah. So I kind of wanted to like dovetail everything. So you mentioned now that you have a normal job, quote unquote, that you actually are a real estate agent in Arizona. And I'd like to ask, like, how does playing in the NHL, like, how was that transition first and foremost? And what did you take from playing as an NHL goaltender into, the world of sales or real estate?
I think it's been translating good. I mean, what I took from playing hockey is just that the hard work and the grind, I think, and not taking anything for granted, right? And just keep working and like hockey was kind of like that too, where it's like you're never better than your last game, right? And it's kind of the same in real estate. Like don't get too high or too low. It's just you just got to keep working and getting better and getting more clients, and yeah.
Wow. Tell Fouad and me, who are 3 to 5 goalies right now that you really enjoy watching? Just whether it's a style thing, a country thing, a team thing, but yeah, who are 3 to 5 goalies that you enjoy watching right now, Eddie?
Ooh, well, Thatcher Demko first, I would say. I really like the way that he plays. I would say Vasilevsky, obviously really fun. I don't know when he's back. He's back in a month or so maybe, but miss watching him. It was a lot of fun watching Bobrovsky last year in the playoffs too.
Not so much for me.
Yeah. I gotta plug in my boy Markstrom. I know he had a rough last year and everything, but I still think he's a hell of a goalie and a lot of fun to watch, like super athletic. And then I'll on the 5th spot, I'm gonna plug in a duo because I think it's really fun to see Allmark and Suleiman in Boston. They're a good fun tandem, I feel like. So
all right, so you heard it here, folks. Eddie Lack's Mount Rushmore of goalies is Thatcher Demko, Jacob Markstrom, Andre Vasilevsky. Who's the other one you said? And then you just said Allmark, Suleiman, and I'm missing one.
Bobrovsky,
yes, indeed, indeed. Who had any last questions for Eddie before we let him take care of his beautiful kids?
Yeah, I just wanted to say to Eddie, thank you so much for joining us. This was an absolute blast. I'm sure everybody would agree. Like the stories are great, and it's just always fun getting an insight from inside the rink. We're fans first and foremost. I've never played the game. I like to talk about the game, but it's just so much different, so much better to get it from somebody who was in it every single day on the ice. And we're so grateful to have you. And thanks so much. We'll hope to do this again.
Let's do it, boys.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
And Eddie, where can people, before you go, where can people follow you on social if you still allow that kind of thing?
Yeah. So on Twitter, I'm at Eddie Lack. Instagram, which got a lot of real estate from beautiful sunny Arizona. It's at Eddie Lack 31. And I got a YouTube channel, but I don't even know what my ad is. But yeah,
people will find it. Well, Eddie, yes.
And I just started a TikTok too. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. It's the jury's still out if I like it, but
that's a tough one.
Yeah, more Swedish dancing, right?
Yeah. But I kind of said to myself, like, I'll do it, but I refuse to dance. But the first video was the Lack dance. So I don't know. Like, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll find you for sure. Yes, as Fouad said, we're so grateful for you, Eddie. Take care of yourself and your beautiful family, and hopefully we can get you on soon.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Go Canucks.
Take care, Eddie.
All right, I love it. Thanks, Eddie. Take care.
Leave suck. Bye.
Oh, of course. He had to. You know what? I love it. You know what? I'll take it. I love it. I love the abuse.
Leafs didn't suck tonight, but we'll talk about that. Well, why don't you want to cue up the ad read and then we'll
Oh,
get into
yeah.
it.
So we want to talk about our new sponsor here on the SDPN. We're talking about our friends from Betano. The NHL season is heating up. There's never been a better time to get in on the action, whether you're looking to hammer an Austin Matthews anytime goal or ride the puck line with the Montreal Canadiens. Our partners at Sign Up Expert want to make sure you're ready to sweat your bets with one of the best. Sign Up Expert is looking to hook up our listeners with the newest sportsbook available in Canada, Betano. Betano is home to some of the best odds when it comes to betting on the NHL and offers unique markets, including virtual soccer and basketball. All you got to do to get started is to scan that QR code you see right there down on the screen, or click the link in the description to register and place your first bet. If you thought those Vancouver Canucks have been the best surprise of the season so far, wait till you try Betano. I think the surprise was Eddie Lack saying the Leafs sucked. Don't walk, run to check out Betano. Scan that QR code, hit the link in the description to get started and start sweating your bets with the best. Always remember to bet responsibly and within your means. Viewers must be 19 plus to sign up for Betano. All right.
Awesome.
So Clay,
good stuff.
We took the show and we reversed it. We threw it on its head. We took it upside down. And let's get into the game here. I'm sure we're gonna get into a press conference very soon. You know, I think the questions have been piling up there, but again, the Leafs, I say this every time, are the most confounding team. The scholars many years from now will try to decipher what is wrong. What is this team? And I just can't. Yesterday I was sitting in a bar watching them blow a 4-1 lead to the Calgary Flames. Not like 24 hours later, they play a fantastic game that I cannot complain about one bit against the hottest team in the NHL, the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, in many respects, the Leafs were the better team tonight, and I got excited. I got excited because I got to co-host with you for the first time. I got excited because we had Eddie Lack on here, and it truly
what a great time. That was fun.
He was awesome, and he was so chill, and he I know he was pretty busy tonight, but to give us a good 35 minutes, we are indeed grateful. And you look at the stats, the shots are a little bit inflated because the Canucks had a couple late rallies at the end, but really the Canucks did better. They got way more power play chances, but it was actually their inability to convert on the 5-on-3 and the late power plays that probably did them in. Toronto, I think, was uncharacteristically undisciplined, but overall it's funny. The Toronto Nylander and I think Tavares maybe had a point each, but Matthews and Marner didn't do much on the score sheet. Yet it was our big players that had rough games defensively. PD I think was -3. Miller, Besser, Hughes, all of them struggled a little bit. So full props. I will give full props to the Toronto Maple Leafs and their depth players for stepping up tonight. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it was, to me, I think the key was, and it's obviously it's a small thing, but having a fourth line that is not an automatic minus, with Ryan Reeves, and now I know everyone's piling on him, but you saw the fourth line scored 2 goals. Noah Gregor, David Kampf was playing well. Like I feel like they have found something with that bottom six where it's not going to change. I can't see too many games in which Ryan Reeves will get back in. It would be very strange if he did, unless it was some sort of like game where, someone needed to have a knuckle sandwich fed to them, like, or some kind of message sent. But yeah. I really liked that. I was so into tell me what did you think of the first period? I'd never seen a first period with two fighting instigators. So,
I'll tell you. So, and I just want to jump off your depth point really quickly because, and bear with us, you guys. I know this is a Game Over Toronto. I'll bring in some Vancouver insight. We're trying.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
We're trying very hard to balance, and we will. But I will say, your depth players were so good. Generally, the Canucks bottom six have been really good too. They haven't been scored on, and you know who your depth player scored on was our top guys. It was Petey and Miller and Besser and Kuzmenko that were out there when Gregor and Camp were lighting us up. So to answer your question, I know we were texting back and forth, and I got a little bit too cocky for that. I even tweeted. I said the Canucks should keep flattening Maple Leafs players with clean hits because then they will take instigator penalties. Then we will score in the power play, and that was when I was all cocky because we were up 2-1 by the end of the first period. But yeah, that was strange, and I'm pretty sure if it was reversed, I would be screaming bloody murder. I at least think it was a little bit too, the calls were too simple, like or unprecipitated. I just thought, being on the receiving side, there were two clean hits, and it's always that thing is, are you not allowed to hit a guy clean without having to answer for it? And it's funny, Bieksa on the broadcast said he thought that both Cole and Joshua didn't have time to prepare themselves for a fight, which I'm not sure if I agree with that. I saw all the gloves drop. So I've never seen that before. And I think they made a point on the broadcast that they've never seen that, two instigator penalties within the same period. And it hurt the Leafs in the first period, but they were able to get through that adversity.
Yeah, I'm going to jump to a Vancouver question in a second, but I want to just point out that Mark Giordano was the oldest player to fight for the Maple Leafs. I believe he beat the record, or he tied a man by the name of Tim Horton. You might have heard of the name. Man, it was like if a 40-year-old guy fighting, if that doesn't get the building going, get the team going, I don't know what will. So the Canucks, I got the Canucks is so interesting. It's almost like, I looked up and I'm like, wait, what? The record didn't make it. I thought it was a glitch. I'm like, what? The NHL is a glitch right now. I mean, it is literally like the Will Smith song. It's like, to tell you how everything got flipped, turned upside down. Like, we have the Edmonton Oilers in the absolute, just in the absolute shambles. Yeah. And it's just as a flip, the Vancouver Canucks, a team that has been the last two seasons, there has just been upheaval everywhere, anger everywhere, drama everywhere, from ownership to players requesting trade talks and everything. Like it seems so toxic. And all of a sudden in one season, just hockey's a strange sport. It's so strange. What's the key? What, like, to you as somebody who's in the weeds every day, what's been the catalyst? I'd like to hear in the chat, Vancouver fans, what's different? What's different?
Great point. And by the way, that whole Geo thing at fighting at 40, that's like me being on SDPN. It's like there's always like some old guy there who's just kind of hang on a little bit. Anyway.
He's basically Ric Flair at this point.
Exactly. That's what you tweeted me. Three guys named Demko, Petey, and Hughes. And although they didn't have their best games tonight, again, credit to the Toronto Maple Leafs, they're all front runners for awards. Demko for the Vezina, Petey for the Hart or Selke, and of course Hughes for the Norris. You do have a superstar foundational player at each of the three possessions: a center, D, and goaltender. And finally, they're playing like it. And not only are they playing like it, but then they have a second tier player named Hronek, Miller, Besser, Kuzmenko, who are playing very well as well. And the one thing that is getting a lot of play in the market here, Fouad, is this whole PDO and regression and the fact that the Canucks really have an amazing shooting percentage, an amazing save percentage. And then people are saying, well, that's going to come down, and it will. Like that's the nature of regression. That's the nature of averages. It will come down. And I think tonight will be a good point because the Canucks only scored on 2 of 33 as opposed to on 17% of the shots. Demko only made 17 of 22 saves. So that's going to naturally bring down his save percentage a bit. So anyone worried and waiting for the Canucks to regress, it's going to happen naturally. The key is how much are you going to regress? But to answer your question, it's because the superstars are playing like superstars. Rick Tocchet has them all believing penalty kill is a lot better than last year, and they're healthy, and they got some good goaltending even from Casey to Smith as well. So that's for you Toronto fans out there. That's kind of the nutshell of how Vancouver's got off to such a good start already, and we're certainly not complaining after the last 7 years that we've had to endure here.
I mean, it was like I just like it was only like 6 months ago about the Bruce. There it is. Like that was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And credit to Rick Tocchet.
Yes.
A guy, that's a tough situation to come into. I mean, all of these guys are just looking for the next coaching opportunities. Like, so, he's happy to go into it, but that was a tough place for him to jump into mid-season amidst an absolute crap storm of just, fans turning on the team basically, and a beloved coach, but all credits to him having that team play well. Do you think it's like you were saying, like, they might regress to the mean? So how much do you think that they're going to regress? I mean, do you think that there's going to be like Boston of last season and just the regression just never comes and they just, or like, do you think that there's like, and do you think that they can get themselves out of it? Because every team is just, a slump away in the NHL.
No, great question. I think the Canucks will regress a little bit, but not to the point that people are expecting or almost want them to. There's all these doomsayers, right, who kind of want to see, they don't want anyone good to happen to anything. The fact is, the Canucks are 7, even with tonight's loss, the Canucks are 7 games over 500. And you could argue you only have to be 13 games over 500, 95 points to make the playoffs. Let's set that as the bar. So that means the Canucks only have to play 6 games over 500 for the rest of the season. And they make the playoffs. So that's barely like 560, 570 hockey. Same as the Maple Leafs. Actually, they're 3 games over 500. 18 and 15. So they're setting themselves up. A bit of a slow start. But and I do want to ask you a Maple Leafs question for the Toronto viewers. But to answer your question, I think they will regress. That's natural. But I think the key is to, as long as they're regressing, not as much as other teams are doing better. If that makes sense. Sense.
And the competition is, it's not exactly, the division is not exactly like, I mean, obviously Edmonton is just on fire. Calgary's on fire. No pun intended, but it's Flames fire. Yeah. It's so I think it's ripe for the picking. I don't think they're going to regress at all. I like what I've seen from them.
Sure.
Even in the loss there, but
cool. Yeah. All right. I got one for you and for the Toronto fans and for you. So you see, and you hinted at it with Eddie, you see the Toronto Maple Leafs step up and you see Giordano and Domi fight in the first period. Yes, they end up getting instigator penalties. The Canucks capitalize, but it actually doesn't hurt the team. Toronto ends up winning. So maybe the narrative in Toronto is good. This team stood up for each other. The team, they're showing more feistiness even without Ryan Reeves. So you have so much skill over there, and we hear about the big four all the time.
Yeah.
Do you like the makeup of your Toronto Maple Leafs team right now with the additions of Domi and Bertuzzi and so, because it is a fascinating mixture to me.
Yeah. So the makeup of it, to answer your first question about the fighting, as soon as I saw that they scored 2 on the instigators, my first thought was they're going to lose the game by 2. I mean, that's what happens. I'm like, they're going to lose. And then everyone's like, well, you called for the hits and the fighting, but I liked it. I mean, look, I'm not a fan of fighting in the NHL that much, really. Like I actually wouldn't be sad if it was gone. Like I like it, the sport for the skill and the drama, but it's a sport with fighting. So they have to, you got to swim in the water that you're in. Like you have to swim with the sharks. That's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
So I like the response. I think like a guy getting completely decked doesn't, clean or not, like it doesn't matter. I don't think clean matters. Like hot take, the Brad Marchand trip into the boards where Timothy Loon got injured. I don't think that was that dirty. I think it was just 2 guys going for the puck. But they needed to respond to that. It was just the mentality of the game. To your second question, I like 50% of the makeup of the team. I love the forward group right now. I think they're really starting to find something because of Nick Robertson. The addition of Nick Robertson is a big deal. I've had a stock. I've Nick Robertson stock. I've kept it. I've held on to it. And now it's going to grow. I didn't sell. I didn't panic sell.
Buy low, sell high, but you haven't sold
yet.
It. Yeah.
No, I mean, he's such a skilled player. It's just a matter of health. Size, but it's mostly health. Like he's been snake bit, and it's not even like nagging injuries. He's not an old guy. It's just he just had nasty hits, like just nasty luck. But he changes the makeup of that third line, especially him and Domi. That's that's an interesting duo there. And then you obviously have Matthew Nyes looking to be a stud. Like the top 9 is something that can go against any team in the league.
Okay. Yep.
The other 50% is the defense, which I am not a fan of at all. I don't think if you polled Torontonians across the city, I think you'd get like 95% of them not being a fan of the blue line. I mean, that's just a Toronto thing, but yeah, like John Klingberg has been harsh to watch. And yeah, they definitely got to make an addition on the back end, a addition or two for me to be like, okay, I'm back on the wagon here. Back on the winning wagon here.
So even without him, so who came in for him? For Liljegren?
For Liljegren, I think it was a combination. It was like, because McCabe was out. Now McCabe is back in.
Yeah.
But then he had William Lagesson, who's he's not the best, but he's a tough, like just a Viking of a man. Like he's always in the mix. And I like what he brings. Obviously, he's a friend of the show. He's a Alan Walsh client, notably that he's on the Leafs. So had to plug that. But no, he's like, I mean, he brought him in there. But yeah, like I don't see much. There's not much like prospects ready. Like there's not one big guy that we're like, oh, we can't wait for. There's not a Nyes on defense. It's not like, can't just wait till this guy comes up. No, there's nobody there. It's going to have to come from outside the organization, I believe.
Now, I think another cool or one similarity between our two teams, Fouad, is a Swedish forward, both of them that are having amazing years right now. So I know there's a lot of angst in the Vancouver market about Elias Pettersson. He is finishing his second 3-year contract. And as you know, you're basically a restricted free agent for the first 7 years of your career. And then boom. So he's done 3. He's finishing up 3. We were allowed to negotiate with him from July 1. And he basically flat out in an interview with Elliot Friedman said, it's not that I don't want to sign here, but I'm not going to sign here right now because I want to focus on this team. And we know he wanted to see if the Canucks could get their act together this year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I've been saying if they can get him, he might be $100 million player for the Canucks. I could see them going 8 times 12.5. That's what it might take, especially if he continues to lead the league or be at the top in scoring. So what's the vibe around William Nylander and what's going to happen with him?
Yeah. I mean, to Elias Pettersson's point, so he's not going to be a UFA. Sometimes with contracts, I'm a little weird. Yeah. So he's not a UFA.
No, he's not. No, but he could sign as low as 1 year and then be a UFA.
And be a UFA next. Okay.
We want
sometimes
8, obviously. Yeah. We want
the contracts. I lose I get a little complicated. Yeah. I mean, Sweden is on a wave right now. Like, I mean, the Swedish forwards are on a wave. Obviously, we've had an amazing Swedish goaltender on here. Yeah. But yeah, with William Nylander, it's just been, everyone's just resigned to, he was always the black sheep. That's like, okay, we're going to trade him. Like, he's the guy that's going to be traded. Like, he was the trade fodder. No more of that. Like, I have not really heard that at all. Right. Nobody in the chat saying that. Yeah. Because he has had a point streak and he's at a point in every single game.
Yeah.
And multiple points in these games. Like, he's been unbelievable. And to have that leap at age 27, 28, like to go from really, really good to like world beaters, superstar good. It's pretty convenient in the contract year. I got some good timing, but yeah, I think people are like, okay, you got to find the balance somewhere else. This guy's got to stay.
Right. So, because I believe I'm just looking, does it sound right? He did his 3-year ELC and now he's at the end of his 6 year. Yeah, because he's a couple years older. He's done his 6 year.
Yeah, he's 2014 draft.
Yeah, so he's a
UFA, full on UFA. Yeah,
at $7 million AAV. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
he's gonna make a lot more than that.
Well, he might double. He's trying to double that. Trying to double up.
Wow. Yeah. That's okay. So interesting to see, and I presume that Toronto fans love him and they love what he's doing for the team.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a double-edged sword because Matthews and Nylander have been amazing. Marner's been quiet but still putting up points, but just kind of in the background. Like he's been and he hasn't been a main character. He's been a supporting cast, but a really good supporting cast. Like not like he's not an extra, but he's keeping it going. Like. He's really important to this, but he's obviously been kind of the story of the season. So I'm going to be interested to see, like, they better decide something at the before the deadline, because you might be looking at a Tavares situation here. Like, I don't know, like some GM, all these GMs, they got money, just it's burning a hole in their pocket, right? There's teams with cap space that like,
Yeah.
I think I saw a tweet by ESPN, I don't know who it was, but they're like, Chicago should sign him to put next to Bedard. And I'm like, no, but God, they could.
If everyone in the chat, there's over 140 of you in here, which is awesome. Don't forget to subscribe to the SDPN channel and hit the bell so you get notified of all 7 Game Over shows, although we combine a couple of tonight as in this one because it's our 2 teams played against one another. And make sure you like the video. There's 45 likes, which is great, but we can get that up. I like the fact that Fouad and I are here. We're good hosts, we're good looking guys, and we had an awesome guest in Eddie Lack. So before we get to, we're going to get to you and all your questions, so save your questions up. We're going to ask for them in about 5 minutes or so. What else stood out to you from tonight's game, Fouad, especially from a Leafs perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it was strong. I like that. I like the depth scoring. I mean, that was the key, obviously. But yeah, it was a lot of the depth. That's something that stood out to me. But actually, I wanted to ask that. The question just popped into my mind. I'm like, ready. So a leap, like, so Vancouver's taking a leap for the first time, like in this kind of core.
Yep.
Am I right? Like, they didn't really have a big. I mean, they had the bubble. They had, but this core seems to have started to make a leap here.
Yeah.
Do you see them as a team that is built for the playoffs? Like right now they're killing the regular season. And we thought that with the Leafs, like when the Leafs made their leap in 2017, 2018 range, they set the record for their points. They had 100 points in the season, but they were obviously not ready for the playoffs until now. Yeah. But do you think going into these playoffs, which we both predict they'll be in, do you see this as a team that is built for that?
Good. Okay. Let's both answer this question for our respective teams. For the Canucks, I think they're 2 pieces away, Fouad. I think they are 1 right shot defenseman away, because you look at their defensemen, and Hughes and Hronek, that's great. That's that trade, when we traded away Horvat to the Islanders, and then we got Ratu, Anthony Beauvillier, and a big draft pick. That's the draft pick that we flipped for Philip Hronek. People say, that's too much. No,
everybody hated that. Yeah, everybody hated that.
You can't find a good, unless you draft him, you can't trade for a right shot D and a bona fide top pair. So that trade has looked awesome. So you have Hughes and Hronek, you have Myers, who's okay, and Cole and Soucy, who are serviceable. So I think you have some good veterans there that can make up your bottom pairings. But you have a guy named Mark Friedman who's playing kind of a journeyman, and I think we really need to upgrade him. So I would say we're probably 1 good right shot D-man away, and I think we need a bit more tenacity in our bottom 6. Now, Teddy Bluger is going to come back from injury. He's going to help a lot. Then you probably sit a guy like Beauvillier or even Hoglander or Joshua. But like Joshua showed some toughness, but you have guys like Garland and Beauvillier who are like $4.5 million and who simply aren't that effective. They're decent skilled players, but they're not that effective as bottom 6 guys, but they're not going to unseat a Besser, a Kuzmenko, and Miller in the top 6, right? So I would rather replace one of those guys with a more like a Domi or Bertuzzi, quite frankly. So I think the Canucks are about 2 pieces away, but at least you're right. This is the best chance that they have, and with this core, Fouad, it'll be fascinating for us because we thought this was going to be another year where, okay, let's just make sure we don't suck. So PD signs here, but imagine there could be a world where the Canucks are actually buyers at the trade deadline, which
I think so,
which would be scary under Jim Benning, but under Patrick Allvin, I think we like for the most part what he's been doing. Even a simple thing like Lafferty, who you know very well, he's been a great addition for the team. But so I think we're about 2 parts away.
Yeah, I see it as because of the balance. Like you said before, they got superstars at 3 positions, and that's something that's plagued us. We have superstars at like 1 position, 2 positions, wing and center.
Yeah.
And which obviously center is very important, but without the balance, hockey is a balanced sport. You see it in Edmonton. Edmonton's got the 2 best forwards on planet Earth, or the 2 most talented, rather. I don't know about their seasons, but right. And they're terrible, right? Like it's such a funny sport. Like in that sense that you got to have it. It's such a balanced sport. So I think they are. And I do think they're going to be buyers. Who would you like? Who's on the wish list? You and the chat, like who's on the wish list? Who do you want to see the Canucks go after in their Stanley Cup run of 2024?
That's a good point. Like I've joked around about Patrick Kane, but apparently he wants to go to an Eastern Conference team. So I don't know what how Canucks fans feel about a Chicago Blackhawk coming here or an X one. That's a really good question. I haven't really scoured the pending UFA market, but that's a question that I have to get back to. But the reason why I haven't thought about it, Fouad, is who on earth would think the Canucks would be buyers, actually?
It's not something you prepared to answer in November of 2023, did you?
Yeah, usually around November 11th, we are out of the playoff race, not planning how to stay in, which is pretty crazy.
Francesco Aquilini said something crazy, and that's it. It did something crazy. That's usually where it goes. Yeah.
It is crazy. All right, you guys, get your questions in. We will transition to our SDPN Game Over presser. So questions for Fouad about the Maple Leafs, questions for me about the Canucks, or even better yet, questions about what you saw on the ice tonight. Who does Toronto play next, Fouad? Do you know off the top of your head?
I think they're going to Sweden. I think they're going to Detroit, if I'm not mistaken. Right. Well, they're playing Detroit in Sweden.
Yeah.
So very interesting, because we have 2 8 a.m. games Eastern time and 1 2 p.m. game. I like the 2 p.m. game. I like, because I can do it on a Friday and just have the rest of the evening just chilling. So it's going to be weird. It's going to be interesting. I'm very interested to see what kind of team they bring there. I was saying the last time I was on that when they lost to Ottawa in pretty bad fashion, I was like, going to Sweden's going to either make them or break them. That camaraderie they develop traveling and, fighting the jet lag, fighting the new environment, and it could make them, and I think it will. I think the team will rally and find their regular season pace there. So,
and who would have thought that you guys are going there to play against Detroit for second place in your division? Like Toronto, I expect to be up there, but not Detroit. Yeah. Not Detroit.
It's a division that division, anybody could win it, and I would not be shocked. Maybe Montreal, because that would be a real shocker. But the division they're in is so up. It's a jump ball. So there's no games to waste for the Leafs, which makes it more fun for us, because it's not like I don't think we'll have a foregone conclusion of a matchup to where it's like, well, Tampa, Toronto, let's just book the tickets now in January. Let's book the flights, basically. But at least I hope not. I like the craziness of it.
Yes. Awesome. I got a couple questions in there that I see. One for me and one for you. I'll start with mine. So yeah, I'm not sure you recognize the name Nick. If he's a Game Over Toronto guy, he says, Canucks fans, what's the sentiment around JT Miller now? Still wants him gone. Yeah. So Nick, I'm happy to take this one. It was a huge move when the Canucks kept Miller, signed him to the 7-year contract, and traded away Bo Horvat. And that was a massive, massive statement by this team. Last year, Miller, not the best look, slamming a stick behind Colin Delia's head on the crossbar, pouting, not back checking. But Miller has said all the right things in the offseason about he realizes he's a passionate, emotional player. But Rick, I think him and Rick, they're kind of two peas in a pod. They're not exactly the same type, but two feisty American, high skilled, gritty players. I really think that Rick Tocchet really likes JT Miller. I think JT Miller really likes Rick Tocchet. And I think Tocchet's probably one of those coaches that's perfect for JT Miller. So I can't speak for all Canucks fans. I just know what he's doing on the ice and how he's driving that second line, often the big matchup line with Besser and Phil DiGiuseppe. So I think Canucks fans are very, very happy. And Fouad, I'd love your impressions of JT Miller from what you've seen, just from the little or a lot that you've seen.
Yeah, it looks like you said, like he's found a role, and all it takes is a new system, a new coach, and you're kind of fixed. Like it's like any other workplace, right? Sometimes you work for a boss and you don't get they don't get the best out of you, right? Like they might even get the worst out of you because you don't fit together, and you're not going to do your best work. I always like to compare. I mean, obviously these aren't real job. These are very different from real jobs, but it's interesting, like to think like, a different coach can just completely change a person, right? It's just human, right? It's so funny. My favorite headline from last season, and I think you remember this. I hope I'm right, but it was like the Pittsburgh Penguins offered a first round pick for JT Miller and Vancouver declined. And I sat and thought for a second. I'm like, I don't know who's more wrong here. Pittsburgh for offering a first round pick or Vancouver for turning it down. It was that was a mind blowing one. I was like, that was a head scratcher. That one made my brain itch.
Yeah, no, we heard the rumors there, and that was right in the middle of yet another bad season. So there was a lot of people that were wondering how that broke down. Ken is asking you, Fouad. He says, should we be experimental in Sweden by playing the youth and Brad Treliving's 4? What does that mean? What's Brad Treliving's 4?
I think he's referring to the 4 people he signed. I guess.
Gotcha.
Like, I mean, the Brad Treliving, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I haven't heard that statement. I mean, I was ripping on Brad Treliving's 4 was that he spent $8 million on Klingberg, Kampf, and Reeves. I mean, that is some financial planning there. Yeah. I guess the youth, I mean, I guess you could always play youth. I mean, I always want to see them audition the bottom lines, because that's the way you're going to win cups is you're going to have all 4 lines clicking, right? So I think those should always be open to audition.
Right.
Like those, obviously your top 6, those guys are minted. Even the third line, that 4th line, even part of the third line, third pairing defenseman, open season. It's open tryouts. You know, like I could play on it. No, I'm just kidding. But like, get anybody, like, you know, like guys from the Marlies, Alex Steves. They tried Bobby McMahon tonight. So some good success. So that's the thing that you always see in the playoffs. Like it's always the 4th, like it's not always the 4th line, but you always see guys that just kind of come out of nowhere. Yeah. I mean, the Leafs kind of have a couple of retreads down there with like Kampf, we know who he is. Reeves, nobody wants to see him play again. You know, So I'd like to see them always play youth in those positions and see what they got, see what they can bring you.
Awesome. Man, let's do one more question for each of us. For you, how safe do you feel? A couple people are asking about this. How safe do you think Sheldon Keefe feels right now?
Yeah, I guess I think he probably feels very safe, because if he wasn't fired after the team lost to a Zamboni driver, the team lost in the bubble to Columbus, the team lost to Montreal in the 3-1 series, and you know, he's been like, he must have such a great relationship with the Stars. He must have a great relationship with Brendan Shanahan. So I think he's safe. I think he feels safe. You know, I don't know. It would make the MLSE spend money twice to pay 2 coaches. I mean, they have the money, but do they want to spend the money? I mean, they have more money than they could probably buy all the NHL teams with the 2 companies that own them. But I don't think they want to fire him. I think they signed him to a 3-year extension. I think Brad Treliving believes in him. So I think he's as safe as he can be. I think he's going to buy a place, not rent a place, if that makes sense.
And, I have the schedule up. So they're going all the way to Sweden. They have a 5-day break to get over there and get acclimated to those 2 games you said, right? Detroit and Minnesota.
And Chicago, I think. I saw Chicago, but I saw a 2 p.m. start there. So, but.
That's right. But
the schedule comes at me fast. Yeah. I don't know.
How can they play Pittsburgh the day after they play Chicago?
I guess not then. Maybe it's not then, because that would be that'd be pretty cruel to make them play in Sweden and just get on a plane and just get off the plane to the rink. I didn't think that one through there, Clay. I'm sorry. No, it's been a long day for me.
So someone else, and it's 11 o'clock your time. My night's just getting started. Who do you start net against Detroit on the Friday?
Oh, Joseph Woll. I mean, you heard Eddie Lack. I mean, Eddie Lack was some spicy Leafs takes. I love it. I'm here for it. I love it. No, Eddie Lack. I'm sorry, Eddie Lack. Yeah, I mean Joseph Woll. It's his net. I mean, it's his net. Samsonov played tonight because of a back-to-back, but Joseph Woll's the guy. He's the young guy. He's the guy. I mean, he's taken the net. He's the most positionally sound. I mean, the goal that Samsonov let in, he's always kind of out of position. He's kind of swimming all the time. Yeah. And even with Woll, Woll has let in some bad ones, but like he's always very still stoic, statuesque. Like he's very just calm. He always seems to see the play a little bit in slow motion. Yeah. And that's kind of what we need. That's what you need as a Toronto goaltender. But Woll for sure. I mean, you hope to get Samsonov going because you need 2 goalies, but Woll is the guy.
Awesome. And I'll take this last one and then I'll let you wrap this thing up. Fouad, Jorge asked me, do you see the Canucks falling down to last season's form? No. Last season's form, well, if you're talking, last season was a tale of 2 seasons, Jorge. It was the bad start under Bruce, and then it was actually plus 500 hockey under Tocchet. I don't see the Canucks finishing first in the division in the Pacific. I don't see them being a top 5 team in the league, but I do see them as a playoff team anywhere. They should be battling for a second or third and at least a wild card for sure, because we've kind of laid out the stats. They only have to play 6 games over 500 for the rest of the season. I think Rick Tocchet is too good of a coach, and I think the players really feel like they have a chance this year to at least do something special. So, check in with me. Maybe with Fouad and I get to do the Toronto Vancouver game at the end of the year, later in the year, and we can talk about it more then or in January. But for now, I think there's a lot of optimism around this team. So we're in similar spots. We're second. You guys are tied for second in your division. So we not perfect seasons, not perfect starts, but Fouad, I think you and I are, at least there's reason for optimism for both of our clubs.
Absolutely. I mean, guys, I got to ask everybody here, who is ready in June for Game Over Toronto, Vancouver?
Oh.
We'll be back. Toronto, Vancouver, Stanley Cup final. I think Canada would be in rough shape, like that politically. It would be rough. Like
it would be amazing. And you guys have 4 hosts. We have 4 hosts. So it's like a Survivor Series War Games. We can match it up. It could be you versus me.
Oh man,
you have Kaya versus Lauren, and then they have the 2 guys versus Parker and Sam. Oh, it's gonna be so good, man.
Man, like who's ready for that? Let's go. I'm putting it in right now. I'm predicting that now.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I don't think Gary. I always say about Canadian matchups, Gary Bettman will call a lockout before Gary. Like he'll call a lockout mid playoffs. He would lie down on the ice, and be like, "Oh, no one's playing."
Just avoid it. Just avoid it. All right, take us home, brother.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on Game Over Toronto. Oh, geez, I used the other T. My name is Fouad Suleiman. You can follow me at Fouad_sports. And I have the wonderful Canuck Clay over here. Clay, plug the 20 things you do.
No, the main thing is, yes, Canuck Clay on Twitter /X and on YouTube. And for me, when I'm not doing Game Over crossovers or Game Over Vancouver, I do have my own channel where I'm doing nightly live streams, except for Friday, Saturday, but weeknights live streams and doing reaction videos and so on and so forth. And happy to be part with Fouad and the crew as part of the SDPN Game Over network, the flagship.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Again, thank you so much for coming out tonight. And we appreciate every single one of you. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. And we appreciate that. Have a good night, everyone.
See you soon.